Hello, everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in real world. Today's topic is multi-cloud cost management. Our special guest is Panima Padmanabhan, Senior Vice President and General Manager, Modern Apps and Management Business Group at VMware. Hi, Panima. Welcome to CXO Spice.
Hello, Helen. Great to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, likewise. So tell us more about your journey, Panima. What led you to your new role, leading the modern apps and management business at VMware?
Just a quick history. I've been in the industry a long time, and pretty much a lot of my, long back was in chips, but a lot of my career in the software industry has been in the management space. Starting early with data centers and then with desktop virtualization and then with security. I ran a company in the security space. And when I joined VMware, I was primarily looking after the management portfolio, which is the Aria portfolio. And more recently, as maybe sometime last year, it became clear that, look, applications are of multiple types. You have packaged applications, you have custom applications, and you have distributed applications and microservices-based applications. But ultimately, they are all applications, and we need a way to develop and manage them. And that is why we brought the application portfolio, which is the Tanzu portfolio and Aria portfolio together. And I was asked to lead it. So I have been in the role since January.
Wow, that's only 3 months. So where are you taking this team to?
Oh, very, very excited. I mean, this has been a very eventful 3 months, and I have been very hard. It has been, of course, meeting the teams and getting all the teams together, doing tons of offsites and getting vision alignment was a big thing. But we just had our events of VMware Explore in Korea and VMware Explore in India. And so in the run-up to the event, I worked with the team, and we have built out our new converged vision for the overall Tanzu and Aria portfolio. And very excited that we actually launched it. So we'd be happy to share that with you.
Wow, that's exciting. I can't wait to dive into our discussion today.
When you think about what is happening in our current environment, business models change by the minute. It's no longer months, years, it's by the minute, right? And I often jokingly say, in an era where ChatGPT went to 100 million users in 2 months and banks can go under in 2 days, your business models are changing rapidly. And in order to address these market changes and business model changes, the way companies today do that is through software, right? They are putting out software that interacts with their employees, with their partners, with their customers. So really, software agility has become the most important thing, and it is directly tied to business agility, right? And I've been talking to a lot of CIOs, and they've all said, look, I need to drive better software agility. And so they're turning to technologies such as public clouds to get rapid scale, to Kubernetes, to agile development, right? Open source. But what that does is, when you add all these technologies, it creates a proliferation of tools, a proliferation of environments. So now, instead of getting speed, I'm bogged down trying to stitch these things together and make sense out of it. And so really, that is where I feel our portfolio of products is perfectly positioned. And that is where we are introducing the new Tanzu plus Aria platform, a platform that is anchored by a single view of the multi-cloud universe. So imagine I could take all your applications and the configurations and the dependencies and model it into a central database that we called Aria Hub and Aria Graph. And then curate specific experiences that allow you to take an application all the way from helping developers develop apps. This is things like giving them accelerators, curating an internal developer portal, ability to give out-of-the-box templates, out-of-the-box security scanning, so that they can build the applications fast. Number two, help them then take those applications and operate at scale across any cloud environment. And be it a Kubernetes-based app or a VM-based app, doesn't matter. You can deploy it across multiple clouds, on-prem or on Kubernetes, and operate it at scale. And most importantly, you never build an app just for one time, but on a runtime basis, continuously optimize. Optimize the cost, performance, and security of these apps. So that is the combined Aria and Tanzu and Aria portfolio that we have launched that allows companies to accelerate application delivery with our help, and we help them develop, operate, and optimize their applications on any cloud, anywhere.
Wow, that's impressive, right? Agility, you talk about agility, there's time to value, and then you talk customer experience. It seems like a dream to me. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
It's great to see how productive you've been in the past 3 months.
Thanks,
And,
Ellen. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, let's dive into our discussion about multi-cloud cost management, right? According to Gartner's Cloud Shift research, spending on cloud technologies in application software will increase from 57.7% in 2022 to 65.9% in 2025. So what are the benefits of the cloud smart approach in today's economic environment?
Look, now the discussion is no longer on whether you use the cloud or not, right? Most customers that I talk to have on-prem environments already. They are adding edge, and they have partner clouds, and they have hyperscalers, right? They have all of those. And most of the times, it's not a premeditated decision. These clouds get added into the portfolio in an organic way. A business unit might be doing a business analytics app, and they say, oh, great, I'm going to use Google for that. Or I'm building a database-focused app, I'm going to use Azure for that. Or I have got a lot of data gravity on-prem, so I'm going to use on-prem. But bottom line is, organically or inorganically, you have now a set of cloud and environments that you're deployed on. And it becomes then a management nightmare. And not only that, not always are the right clouds chosen for the right purpose. So early on, what we found is companies went from cloud first, right? They said, hey, cloud is important, go into cloud. But soon they descended into a cloud chaos because it was not a controlled process. And that is where now we are advocating an approach. It's not about saying yes or no to cloud. It is about saying, do you understand all the benefits that a given cloud brings in? And do you also understand all the cost implications? All the security and performance implications, so that you can make the right trade-offs and pick the right environment for a given application or a given. And that is the approach that we call cloud smart, which is you pick purpose-built, you don't do all or nothing, a specific environment for a specific app based on the characteristics, the business needs, and the operational needs.
That makes total sense to me. However, that could be challenging for those who don't have enough knowledge, right? So what are the key challenges you've seen that organizations face in managing multi-cloud, and how can these challenges be addressed?
First challenge is just, let us take, you're specifically asking about cost, right? As I have, let us say, built many across my applications across multiple clouds, most fundamental challenges, I have no visibility. How do I know what I'm spending in which cloud? I'm not talking about fancy placement. I'm not talking about optimization, just plain visibility. Often most companies, they know their bill from AWS or Azure, but they have no visibility on where it is being spent, who is spending that, which applications, why am I spending that, right? So the first order of business or the challenge is visibility. And it's a hard problem. Different clouds have different form factors. Inventory is different. And when you start throwing in the mix of hybrid and edge, it becomes even more complex, right? So first challenge is visibility. The second challenge is that with cost specifically, it's an interesting one. Applications are owned by the developers. And the core infrastructure is managed often by the cloud ops team. So let us say you look at an application and you say, oh, great. Or you look at an environment and you say, these are all underutilized. Let me resize them down. It's very hard for a central team to do that because application owners will never say it's okay to resize them down. So the second part is, how do you create a shared ownership model, right? How do you take all this cost information, map it to the application and infrastructure information, and make it available to the application owners in the same way that it is available to the platform owners, so that both sets, central ID as well as the app dev teams, can look at the data in a common way and come to an agreement. Yes, this app is not utilizing its resources well, or this app is not suited for this cloud. So that is kind of the second problem, right? First problem, core visibility. Second problem is making it available and creating a shared model across your app owners and your IT. Then the third challenge comes in. Okay, great. Even if I have a shared model, how do I start doing optimization? How do I do recommendations? There are so many savings plans, reserved instance models, so many different types of instance types, and so many different types of capability. So what you need at that point is no longer just reports, but you need recommendations. You need recommendations on what can be done. And then the last part is, great, I have recommendations. I can't operate on them. So how do I take action and how do I enforce them on a continuous basis, right? I might clean up one time, but next month, again, the cost can go into an overrun. So how do you take a set of best practices around how you should use these environments and codify them? So you not only automate them, but you make it policy driven, right? So that is kind of, I in a way kind of told you the challenges as well as the approaches, right? So you have to have a central visibility tool. You have to create a shared ownership model with delegated, views across business owners and IT, right? You have to be then able to understand recommendations on what you have to optimize where on an ongoing basis. And then you have to be able to do that actions on an ongoing policy-driven basis. Does that make sense, Tal?
Yeah, it does, right? I got it. So the first is the visibility. The second one is a shared model
Yes.
for to drive accountability. And the third one is optimization recommendation, because you want to optimize, but where do you do? What do you do? The last thing is continuously, right? You don't do it one time. It should be ongoing.
Exactly.
Effort.
Yes.
Makes total sense. And I actually came across VMware multi-cloud briefing the other day, and you talked about right sizing does not mean downsizing. It really resonated with me greatly. You talk about what that means. It means making multi-cloud more efficient. So how is VMware Aria help customers effectively manage multi-cloud? How do you help customers optimize their cloud strategy?
This is a very interesting question and a philosophical one, right? Because a lot of times cost is a big conversation that happens in the industry about cloud. But I would posit having a conversation about cost independent of other characteristics is a mistake, right? If you're just optimizing cost, I can say, okay, I optimize cost to zero, nothing works. That's not the point, right? How do you get the lowest possible cost while maintaining your performance needs and while absolutely meeting all your security requirements and while meeting your agility requirements for your applications? That is what the big picture is. But often in a siloed world, these are all in different tools. I've got a performance management tool that has my metrics. I have a different tool that tells me my security and a different tool that tells me about my cost. So what we did with VMware Aria, and just like I told you about Tanzu, we brought everything together with a common data model of the multi-cloud universe, which is models the applications, models the dependencies, right? And once I have that, now I can look at an application and I pull information from all these solutions that are there within Aria. I can pull from the cost solution and say, what is the cost of this application? By the way, now when I add a new geo, what is the cost? And by the way, does it improve my latency? Right? Does it reduce my latency? So same thing happened to me with my own team. My team said, hey, I need a new geolocation because we need to improve the latency to the users. I said, okay, how much will it cost me? And show me in a performance test How does the user experience change, right? This trade-off is hard. And in fact, some companies are taking it one step further. They're saying my applications ultimately are driving a business need. Like I might have a shopping app that is driving transactions. I no longer just want to know the cost of the app or a cost of an app in a cloud. I want to know the cost per transaction, right? How do you do that? Now you're bringing a metric or a metrics with cost metrics with performance metrics, right? You have to bring those together. And same is true for security, right? Just because you went with a lower cost model doesn't mean that you are more secure, or vice versa, right? So that is why often I say cost is not just about reduction or downsizing or changing your instance from large to small. That's a very simplistic model, right? It is about saying for a given business objective, or a given target of performance or given target of security, what is the lowest cost you can achieve?
I love that, because cost should never be an isolated discipline, right?
Yes.
You need to always think about what is trade-off with the performance and security opportunities.
Yes.
So when I work with a lot of executives, ask them about what their biggest driver for growth, the response oftentimes is digital transformation. But when compounded with controlling costs and security, many are struggled with how to proceed. What are some of the effective strategies for reducing costs and optimizing spending in a multi-cloud environments? And tell us a little bit more. You actually talked a little bit more earlier, but I'd like to hear more about area cost by cloud health.
Yeah. So, of course, as part of the Aria portfolio, we have three main pillars. Our Aria Cost, which is powered by Aria Cost by Cloud Health. Aria Operations, which gives you the performance metrics from application to infra stack. And Aria Automation, that gives you configuration, security, and automation of the actions that you may decide on. And that is the entire Aria portfolio. The Aria Cost by Cloud Health is our industry-leading cost management solution. Often it is run by teams that are called FinOps teams or Cloud Center of Excellence teams. And the solution covers the entire gamut, right? So we are really one of the few solutions in the industry that have depth, not only in terms of coverage of environments, but truly giving that in-depth visibility that I talked about. The ability to do application-based splicing of data, right? And giving that delegated model of administration across BU and central. Being able to have powerful recommendations and automating those recommendations with policy. We span the entire spectrum with Aria Cost by Cloud Health. So that is why it is a very popular solution. Tens of thousands of customers using it, both directly from us and through our MSP partners, and multiple billions of dollars of spend under management. And so there's a pooled level of understanding and knowledge about best practices of managing costs that we've poured into the product there. Okay. Now you asked another question, which is, what is the best way for customers to look at a cost? My strong recommendation as customers are looking at cloud and digital transformation is, if you're looking at cost after the cost has exploded, it's too late, right? And so I'll give you an example. You need to start thinking about the operational characteristics of your application and shift that left all the way to development cycle. And that is why what I talked about with Aria and Tanzu portfolio is very nice, because Tanzu is that front end of the of the pipeline, right? Tanzu allows the customers to truly develop their applications with golden paths, with pre-described patterns, right? And then operate them at scale, so that then all the guardrails are set already in place, so that you can then manage and optimize on the edges, as opposed to trying to solve everything in the beginning. So I would say, when you start building your application itself in the develop phase itself, understand the operational characteristics and non-functional requirements. And non-functional requirements are not just high availability and reliability, but it's also how much does it cost for a given amount of performance, and can it be secured to your corporate guidelines and guardrails? And establishing right as you build the application in the testing phase itself, understanding, okay, you have chosen, let us say, a certain instance size. You have chosen a certain set of PaaS applications. You should know how the cost scales when these scale out, when your applications scale out. There isn't one way to build applications. You can choose many different services. So being able to make that trade-off of application services early on in the design cycle is very important. Because once it goes to production, making an architectural change is 100x, 1000x harder, right? So I would start saying, starting to shift left cost into the development cycle, which is what we are doing with the whole connecting Tanzu and Aria together, right? The second one is, don't make cost one time idea. Define your best practices, define your cost security best practices, and curate them as policies. So having some kind of engine that creates guardrails for you and creates those continuous policies are very, very critical.
Yeah, that's really profound, Panima, because you talk about the shift left mindset, right? Really started with the development cycle, and then from there, looking at operational characteristics is so critical. Rather than, hey, I'm already made my choices of infrastructure, and then rely on business to cut the cost. So that being said, how can business really balance the need to control cost with the desire to take advantage of unique capabilities of different cloud providers?
And this is where, by the way, when we talked about shift left, I'm sorry, I want to add one more point, that the industry has started doing some of shift left of security, right? I think really the shift left of cost also has to happen. That is a very important piece. Now, when you talk about industry advances, cost should not be an hindrance at all, right? What you want is the power of the entire innovation spectrum to be at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So what cost means is not a no. Cost means is the difference between NO and maybe KNOW. It's like, it's not no, don't do it, but it is know your cost. Know the implications to scale out, know the implications to multiple availability requirements, know the implication to security requirements. I think this is a big difference. So just because a company is controlling costs, it's important that they don't say, this is the offense plus defense strategy, right? Just because you're controlling cost is seen as a defense. To me, it can be a very powerful offense. Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Yeah. If my cost of operations is low enough, I can proliferate my product a lot more. A simple example, I was trying to launch a freemium solution to get to a large audience. If the cost of that freemium solution is not small enough, I will never be able to get to my audience, right? Because I'll never have the bandwidth, never have the budget to do that. So cost is not only a reduction thing or only post the fact thing. It's an important lever in your arsenal, and it should never prevent you from looking at the latest and greatest technologies. But what you have to know is you have to know the trade-offs. So you have to say, okay, if I pick this technology, it'll get me application out 2 months faster, but it adds, 200% more on an ongoing basis. Am I willing to make that choice? So it's about, by knowing what you need to see, you convert cost into a business choice. Right?
So with the awareness comes choices. I love that mindset. So have you seen any examples of companies successfully managing costs across multi-cloud providers? What did they do well?
I have seen many, many companies. In fact, with our Aria Cost by Cloud Health, we are also part of the FinOps Foundation. We have worked with many companies, even helped them establish their cloud center of excellence. Some things they do well is they do get, you have to get the culture and the people part right first, right? So often getting the teams right. Cost is, again, as I said, not just about cost. So they usually create a cloud center of excellence that includes ops people, that includes security people, right? And it includes finance people and the business unit people. So that model means that you're looking at things holistically. Those companies do that very well. The other thing that the companies that I've seen transform, right? I have, for example, a company that is in the insurance space that has multiple clouds. They started very rapidly, started spending, but then they said, okay, very quickly they realized it's not just going to be them calling every application development team and saying, hey, cut your cost is not going to help, right? They had to create cost as a fundamental platform discipline that a central team offers it as a service to the business units and app developers. So that is the second mindset shift. People and getting the teams right, but thinking cost as a platform discipline where you are offering things like visibility, optimization, policies, and actions to the development teams to make it easy for them to understand their choices and take their actions. When they do these two things well, we have seen, especially with solutions like Aria Cost, customers get massive amount of productivity, right? And just in terms of numbers, being able to drive a lot more customer satisfaction and customer transactions with the same cost, being able to reduce cost up to 30% with the same performance, right? These are some powerful metrics that we see consistently from many, many of our customers.
30% cost reduction. Wow, that's amazing result.
Without
sacrificing performance.
Exactly. That is the key.
Standard.
That's
the key. Absolutely. So what advice would you give to those companies who are looking to optimize their multi-cloud operations?
I think it's interesting. You didn't just say cost, you said operations. Don't look at disciplines as separate. I think now, especially when you start looking at multi-cloud, cloud ops teams have a very unique opportunity to really start thinking about the capabilities they provide almost as a service, an internal service to their app dev teams. And bringing that common, the opportunity for these cloud ops teams is to bring a common operations platform that truly brings cost, performance, and security, visibility at an application to infrastructure level, right? And then one that connects also to the development processes. That is the big opportunity for a lot of the central teams. And really, we can, I think, bring a change in the industry here. It's not about ticket-driven processes, nor is it about one by one making changes. It's really thinking of this as a platform.
I love that. It's a solution, not just a tool, right? Well, I can talk to you for another hour, but unfortunately, our time is up here. So here comes to my last question. In your opinion, what are some of the most exciting developments in multi-cloud technologies today? And how do you see these technologies evolving in the future?
I would say there is so much innovation happening. It is incredible, but definitely making these multi-cloud technologies easier for us to build applications. That space is exploding, right? I talked a little bit about the Tanzu portfolio, but just because you have the best RDS in the world, just because you have got the best data warehousing solution in the world, best query engine in the world is not sufficient. How do we take it to the next level that makes it easy for us to go from idea? I have an idea, like I tell my famous example of Dick's Sporting Goods wanted to launch an application and they did it in 8 days. So it's from idea to production. I have an idea. So how do I build my business logic rather than thinking about all these other things, right? And that is the area of innovation. So bringing that layer of processes, but layers of solutions that makes it easy for a developer to just patch their business logic purpose together, click, send, and you have got deployments going. Big areas of innovation. The other area of innovation, if I'd be remiss if I didn't say, is really, and it applies to that also, is really the application of AI/ML. Application of AI/ML, not only for business insights, and that is something that is a journey that has been going, but I think large language models have simply burst open Pandora's box of use cases. I mean, I I can't tell you how many conversations we have, of course, from things like Copilot for developers, but also Copilot for our operators.
Yeah.
Imagine there's a Copilot here telling you what is the right optimization decisions to make, what is the right, we are working on a large language model based approach which is a Copilot to automate remediation actions in the data center so that you don't have to go and write that scripts, right? So the large language model assist-based models are just a fabulous area of innovation, and we are going to see a lot of that. And then lastly, I think I do see more things happening in the data and federation of data, because application and building applications is one piece, but just how do I'm sitting on volumes and volumes and volumes of data as a company. How do I harness value from that? And that might be the other area that really could see a lot of innovation in the multi-cloud space.
Well, that makes sense, right? Because I heard you said maybe we're going to have a cloud GPT or cloud Copilot someday, or maybe we already have, we're building that already. That's exciting to really think about the art of possible, right? You mentioned that during the last interview. But, thank you so much for sharing the invaluable insights with us today, Purnima. And here are my 4 key takeaways from our conversation. The first one is cloud technology has become a critical aspect of business success today. While many companies are realizing the benefits of using the cloud, the challenge lies in managing usage across multi-cloud platforms and different pricing models while controlling costs and security. To achieve this, companies need to adopt a balanced approach and build both offensive and defensive strategies. Number 2, multi-cloud cost management requires a team functioning at optimal efficiency and learning one another to make the best decisions. Companies can benchmark where they are at with their resource mix and cloud spend to uncover inefficiencies and use a policy-based approach to optimization that considers cost as a solution rather than the tool. Number 3, right sizing is the strategy for optimal multi-cloud cost management. Hence the importance of building a multi-cloud cost management center of excellence team, encompassing team members from finance, operations, security, DevOps, and developers. And last one is know your cost constraints and performance opportunities with the right team in place, and you will maximize your investment with educated risk. Multi-cloud cost management is more than just writing codes or putting tools in place. It is solving customer problems and growing your business. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.